The purpose of this training is to go over the weekly market survey. This survey is a great tool for us to use so we can track how our property is comparing up to our comps. I'm going to start off by going over the details of this report. It is color-coded to help make this a lot easier for you. The yellow cells are all of the cells where you will need to go in and actually add data. Everything in white is protected with a formula, so those will automatically populate for you. To start off, the very first column is going to be your property. So you'll identify your property name up here, as well as the university that your property is affiliated with. Each week, you will go through and update your current occupancy and your pre-leased occupancy for the fall. You will also add in where you ended last year with your occupancy. Next up, you're going to add how many beds you have on your property, as well as how many units, when your property was constructed, how many miles it is away from campus or blocks, and whether or not you lease by the bed or the unit. Last up is who is the management company for that particular property. We're going to do the same cells for all of your comps moving across, and you'll notice that we have identified 9 comps for you guys. Next up, we're going to identify in 2014 what was the enrollment at your university, as well as the enrollment for 2015. Then we're going to identify if there is any new on or off-campus beds that are coming to your market. The next section is whether or not your university requires freshmen to live on campus, and then how many beds are currently on your campus. Everything else, like I mentioned in white, is going to populate for you based on the data that you enter. Next up, we are going to identify all of the different specials and concessions that are in your market. The first section is just solely gift cards. So if gift cards are being given away at your property, this is where you're going to enter that dollar amount based on the floor plan that it applies to. We're going to do the same thing for all of our comps. The next section is any reoccurring monthly concession. So if there's a dollar amount that's coming off for each month, we're going to identify that dollar amount for our property as well as all of our comps. The next section is any free rent that we're giving away as a concession. This is calculated in months. So if you're giving away a free month on your 1 bedroom, you will enter a 1 there. And you'll do the same thing for all of your comps as well. The last concession is any tangible concession. So anything that you're giving away, such as an iPad, a cruise voucher, any tangible item that you're giving away, we're going to put the dollar amount that's associated with that item in these cells here. Again, remembering that each item or each month, you're doing it corresponding with the floor plan. Next up, we want to identify any rent adjustments that are being offered. For example, utility allowance, cable, and internet. If cable is not included in your rent, we want to be able to offset that by identifying what cable would cost in your marketplace. So if somebody was not given cable or internet included in their rent, we want to identify a cost that would allow us to compare those prices apples to apples. Next up, we're going to break down each floor plan. This is customizable by clicking on these gray cells that identify the number of beds and the unit. So if you do not have these specific floor plans in your market or at your property, you can adjust these. When you do that, it will also adjust all of these up here for you. So for example, if you don't have a 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and you want to change that to a 2-2 and this to a 3-3, you can make those changes. So we're going to identify, once we've identified the floor plans, we're going to identify how many of each floor plan that we have for our property as well as our comps. We're going to identify the square footage and the market rate on that particular floor plan. Keep in mind that some of you may have several 1-bedroom floor plans, and that's okay. We're going to add all of those up, and we're going to take an average of the square footage and an average of the market rate. We're going to continue that process till we get through all of the floor plans that we have available at our property as well as in our market. The next section we are going to identify any fees or deposits that are being charged or are being charged in your market. So we'll go through this list: application fee, security deposit, non-refundable deposit, pet, furniture, parking, short-term parking, and any miscellaneous fees. We're going to just go through all of those, identify those for our property as well as all of our comps. And in the next two sections, we're just simply identifying what different amenities, community features, and unit features our property has by simply putting an X in those areas. It's a fairly simple process. It does require some initial setup, but once we get everything put in, it's just going to be simply going in and updating it on a weekly basis. Again, this will take the place of the current market survey that we're using, and this will be continued to be updated once a week and posted to SharePoint with your weekly leasing workbooks.